Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Tribecast with myself, Jake, and my lovely. I don't want to call you my co-host because this is basically your baby, but with Lewis as well. So, good evening, guys. Hope everyone is doing well. Tuning in, get involved with the conversation. Say hi back if you want to. How are you doing it today, Lewis? You all good?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. I'm just writing a message to our group saying that we're live. That's like awkward. I should just stay quiet. That would just let you just cook.
Talking to you whilst we're doing something is like talking to a brick wall. I can't lie. In with the most respect. Thanks. Perfect. So, guys, today on this episode of the podcast, we are going to be covering multiple topics. Those topics include why most people are overtrained and under-recovered and don't necessarily know it, the difference between a coach and just a program seller, protein, how much is too much, and are most people even hitting their minimum, the problem of chasing a body goal instead of a performance standard. Cardio could be the thing that's making you fat, believe it or not. And finally, what makes a bad coach and what makes a good coach and what to look out for.
Yeah, man. Yeah, bro. Yeah, so we're covering a lot today, and I feel like it's best that we just get stuck straight into the mix. So we're going to start off with why most people are overtrained, under-recovered, and don't know it. And this is something that, and again, guys, if you want to get involved in the chat, just a quick one, just make sure you are. Yo, Matt, how's it going, brother? How's it going? Um, yeah, so for most people, right, there's this mentality of we've spoken about before. More is better, and actually, because in most aspects of life, when it comes to like business or when it comes to sales or whatever, the more you do, the more output you do, the more input you get. When it comes to training, it doesn't work like that. Biology and anatomy, it's not as simple as that, right? You have to train, stimulate the muscle to grow, so stimulate it, start that process off, and then you need to rest. And when you rest is when that new muscle tissue is built that then you can then apply to your next session. But if you're overtraining and you're doing more and more and more and more and more, you're now eating into your ability to be able to recover. And there's that old age analogy of like 40 hours to 72 hours between muscle groups, right? So it should be at least 2 to 3 days before training an additional muscle group. Now, whether or not it is more person dependent, but for 40 hours to 72 hours, your muscle is still building. You are still building brand new tissue, and you need that tissue there before going for another set, because a lot of the muscle tissue that was there has been broken down, has been overstimulated. It is tired, and it will be tired even 32 hours after you trained it. So coming in and doing deadlifts three times a week, sometimes, consecutively, will not net positive you more strength progress. It will not. It will go directly in the opposite way. And yeah, understanding that process and understanding how anatomy and biology works is very, very important in this industry.
Yeah, 100%. Like you mentioned there, the gym should just be the stimulus, right? The growth occurs when you're outside of the gym, chilling out, resting, getting the food in, etc. And this goes with every single phase that you might be in, whether it's an improvement phase and you're trying to gain muscle, even if you're in a deficit as well. I think a lot of people panic, okay, because they fear that, if they don't train enough, they're going to lose their muscle. And some people, they fear that if they train too much, then they're going to lose their muscle. So there has to be a good, clear balance of applying the right stimulus, but also having enough time and understanding that you need to have that time to grow,
I completely agree. And sometimes it is as simplistic. We just spoke about this a minute ago off camera. Go by stats and figures. Go by stats and figures, and then figure out what your recovery time actually is. And track almost everything. The more you can track, the better, because then you can compare weeks of progress. And if weights are going up consistently, brilliant. If they're not, okay, fine. What is happening there? If you're training 4 times a week and your weights are not increasing, right, and you're unsure whether or not you're doing too much or too little, try, if you have that thought of like, I don't want to do any less, because surely that wouldn't net positive me any progress. I've personally trained 3 days a week on a powerlifting program in the past and gained a lot of muscle from that myself. And at that time, my recovery was not good enough for me to train 4 times a week. So I had to drop it back to 3. But equally, maybe if you are worried that you're not training enough, go up to 5 sessions. What does 5 sessions do for you? Does it make you worse? Okay, cool. Well, the logical move here is to drop it back a little bit to 3. Don't be afraid of that. Go by figures, go by improvement, go by week in, week out progress, and don't almost lie to yourself when it comes to the gym. Like, if you're doing 4 times a week and you're not progressing, you're up to 5 and it's even worse. You're like, maybe I just need 6. You don't need 6. You do not need 6. Drop it back. Try 3. Try 3. You remember the old analogy of Mike Minter, his style of training, that he'd do 3 exercises and he'd train once every 4 days. But he'd push those 3 exercises to absolute oblivion. And then he said he needed 4 days to recover afterwards. Otherwise, he wouldn't make any progress. But he was a science guy and he'd track every single thing, how his form was, what the tempo was, how many reps he got. And that was arguably one of the best bodybuilders of the golden era. He had one of the best physiques. And then Dorian Yates then applied that and won multiple Olympias off of his leg days being the hack squat to absolute failure. And then he had the best legs that he, in the whole of the competition from training 1 exercise and doing 1 big set. He trained for less than 15 minutes. So sometimes it's person dependent. For me, that wouldn't work. I've tried it. It wouldn't work. It's too little volume. Whereas for you, if you track everything, you can get a good gauge on where things are going. And if you are progressing, keep it the same.
I think we've also got to touch on like the markers to look out for that you are overtraining. I think one big one for me is like recovery time. Okay, so if you are literally feeling fatigued all the time, your muscles ache. I think the people new to transformations in dieting in the gym, they will take a little longer to recover because their muscles aren't used to being certain positions and doing certain movements. But if you are consistently stiff and you've got DOMs for like 3 days post session and you are still training, then you are probably overtraining. Another marker as well, and something that we actually pick up on our check-ins, is measurements, specifically like your hips for guys. It's just a clear sign of inflammation that you have not rested enough. And another one as well, and a massive one, which is going to have a knock-on effect on your performance, is reoccurring injury. The amount of people that we've spoken to that have had a reoccurring injury, and it's like because either your technique's wrong or you are simply just not resting enough. And we had a conversation. We've had a staff meeting before where we're like, right, not gonna lie, guys, certain people do need to be on deload weeks because they have this drive, which is good on them, to have to increase the weight every single time, but they need to understand that they need to take a deload week, reset, which means that then have more energy to then push again and then push harder in the later weeks. So those for me are like the key markers that you are just overtraining without even realizing it.
Yeah, massively. And guys, one last little thing as well. If you are someone that's tracking your body weight and you're tracking your measurements, a really clear sign of overtraining and inflammation building is your weight going down, but actually there is no improvement in your waist and your hips. If anything, it's going the opposite direction, which is your kidneys being overworked because they're trying to flood water to the muscle tissue that is damaged. Like when you roll an ankle, Jake, when you like roll your ankle and your ankle swells, right? Your kidneys are the thing that basically gets rid of that water retention, because water retention drives more blood flow to that area, which then will ultimately allow more nutrients to get to that muscle for it to be able, or that area to be able to allow it to recover. And your kidneys then have to filter that water retention out. Generally, if your kidneys are overworked, you will see an increase in your hip size, and your weight will continually go down. It just means inflammation is very prevalent, and then you are probably overtraining. So keep that in mind as you're going through your process. So the next thing is the difference between a coach and a program seller. Jake, I'll let you run with this one first.
Okay, yeah. A coach, and especially the coaches that give a shit, will literally have every single bit of data and analyze everything to a T. Okay, so this is stuff like your performance, your measurements, comparing your measurements week in, week out, even like your visuals as well, whether the training is appropriate for you, tailored for your body. That is the whole reason why we make plans, nutrition plans and workout plans, etc., is that it is tailored for you. It's not just something that we have copied and pasted from someone else's workout plan. Okay, a program seller is just purely going, right, here's the program that works, but it actually just works for them. We're just going to sell a bunch of these. Take this, try it for 6 weeks, and then you'll look like this. It's not how it works. Okay, we are super linear, and again, we were having a conversation before the start of the podcast about how linear we need to be as coaches, and how much we need to show that we care about sort of every single variable to make sure that we have progress and we can respond well to stuff like injury or inflammation, and therefore make linear progress week in, week out. Okay, again, a program seller is just going to be like, here's a program, off you pop. And that's just, that is not the coaching way, not for us anyway.
No, and it's adaptation towards the individual. And a program seller, touching on what you mentioned there, will give you what works for them. However, for most people, everybody will have stronger and weaker muscle groups. And for me, my weakest muscle group is my back. My back is not a strong point on my physique. So it means that I have to apply more volume to my back to get the same outcome as someone who has a very genetically gifted back who could train it once a week. I have to train mine twice, sometimes even 3 times, governing volume to be able to make the same level of progress in that area. But again, it's making sure that program is tailored to the individual. Because again, if you're following a program that is built for Dan, that may work for Dan, it doesn't mean it'll work for you. You have to take that into account. And it's a very individual process. It's very person dependent, and it takes a lot of molding throughout the process. There are some people, and again, for us, we're very good at setting out programs initially for people anyway. We're very skilled at that. I would always say, like, for me now, I have to rarely make many changes to people's programs after I've initially built it. But there will always be minor tweaks of additional movements. Like Liam, for example, came on 6 weeks ago with me, and quite quickly I was like, okay, cool. The leg day that we're doing is great. We're seeing the stimulus in the quads for quad growth and hamstring growth, but we just need more glutes. We just need a bit more glutes here. Yeah, and it's those little like sprinkles on top, which then will build your physique. And even though it's just a little bit more on the glutes help with your RDLs, the glutes help with your squats, the glutes help with so many other muscle groups. And having that tweak and that little sprinkle on top will allow all the other exercises to linearly progress forwards at a much faster rate. So it needs to be tweaked, it needs to be monitored, it always needs to consistently not change massively, but there needs to be little things that allow the program to linearly move forwards.
I think another thing as well, which is beneficial with coaching, is the knowledge provided to clients as to why they're doing certain exercise over another exercise. And for example, like myself, I struggle with hip hinge movements because, again, like Lewis, I have I think when you say you have a weaker back, I think you mean in terms of like width and size, right? So like for me, I like actually have a weaker back. Like my lower back, any more than 2 hip hinge movements in a week, it's gone. So, we've had to find ways to go around that. And I'll talk to Alex, for example, one of my clients who's just gone on holiday. He was saying to me, like, dude, I have no arm volume. Like, I usually have an arm day. And it's like, well, yeah, because you already have loads of dense muscle tissue on your arms. All right, we do not need to do arms. We don't need to do 8 different arm exercises in the week just because you want to. You've already got good arms, but we do need to work on your lats, for example, or maybe more rear delts or side delts. So it's also allowing the client to understand why they're doing what they're doing, as opposed to just a rogue, like, bespoke program. Understand why it's tailored.
Yeah, I get that. And I think with Alex as well, he has got good arms, bro. But that time spent on doing an arm day could be better applied elsewhere.
Yeah, exactly, 100%. He wants to do a strength goal at the end, and we need to develop his strength. So throwing in an arm day is just like, you're just going to be fatigued. So why don't we just, if not remove that session and put more volume in certain areas, and then your strength will go up, and your arms will probably stay the same. Measurements might go down slightly, but that's because you're also getting lean at the same time. And what's wrong with that? We don't necessarily need 10 different arm movements.
And understanding as well that any exercise starts building inflammation and fatigue. So any exercise. So if Alex was to do arms and then he was to do the weaker muscles as well, he'd be able to do that for like 2 weeks before he taps out. So actually, if you've only got, let's say, 30 exercise or 30 or 40 sets per week that you can do, you need to make sure those 40 sets are in the right place. Otherwise, again, point of diminishing returns. And yeah, it's like, I love how I do meet some people and they're like, I'll just do an extra arm day because, it's just arms in it. And you're like, it's enough stress on the body to cause fatigue to build, man. And you've just had like a week of feeling absolutely exhausted and you had to take 4 days off the gym and you said hunger was through the roof and your elbows hurt and your knees hurt. Like, we probably shouldn't fucking do arms here. We should just back off and just apply the volume in the right area. And I think with arms as well, a lot of people don't realize that you use your arms in pretty much most of your back exercises and chest exercises and shoulder exercises. If you think of what like a lateral pull down is lats and bis, secondary is bis. A bench press is chest and tris. It's a lockout movement for your triceps too. So it's, you will grow arms anyway from just getting strong in your main lifts. Whether or not you need additional exercise and additional volume there is person dependent.
Yeah, definitely. And I think especially very common with guys, because we are a lot more egotistical. We tend to be like, well, no, we're wrong. Yes, we are.
No, we're not. No,
Yeah,
we're
we
not.
are.
Just different, bro. Like girls like that with their glutes, man.
Okay, all right. Okay,
Just different muscle groups.
okay, all right.
No, I get what you're saying, but I think it's equal on both sides of the spectrum.
Sure. Yeah.
Just completely
Yeah.
point and flip that off. Yeah.
To be honest, I haven't worked with enough women to maybe have that criticism from a check-in. But
no, it's not a problem. Like we said, it's good to be motivated. It's good to have that little bit of healthy competition sometimes. If you want bigger arms than the bloke next to you, then cool, you're going to go hard in your training. That's fine. Same with girls with their glutes. So cool, we want to have bigger glutes than this influencer or this person. Fine, it's good. But as long as you're doing it in the right way, yeah, not overstimulating. But okay, so next thing is protein. How much is too much? And are most people even hitting their minimum? And I think for me, this one's a little bit like people have this view. There is this view where it's like for women, 0.75 to 1 gram per pound of body weight of protein is an industry standard. For guys, it's like 1 gram per pound up to 1.5 grams per pound, right? But realistically, again, going back to a statistical side, some people literally don't have the digestive capacity for that. They're just not able to do it. There are people that I've worked with, and this is like taboo, but I've had some ladies on like 90 grams of protein and making incredible linear progress. Some of them being bikini athletes that have held on to a lot of muscle tissue. And I've had some guys that are on 300 grams of protein that they literally are fine with. And some guys on 180 and they struggle with it. So it's like realistically comes down to digestive capacity and realistically testing the waters and going by that industry average to begin with, and then moving up or down depending on your results. And this is the hard bit with protein because I feel like everybody's kind of gaslit into every coach is saying you must have this amount of protein. It's like, well, okay, cool. That is a standard. It doesn't mean it's like it can be for everybody, right? So ultimately, if you have that and you are like Niagara Falls out your arsehole when you go to the toilet every time, yeah, you ain't absorbing everything, my guy. That's not normal, and your digestion is compromised, which means that we are impacting digestion and the ability for the body to be able to utilize food well because you're having too much protein. Bring it back into line. And as much as I made a joke about going to the toilet there, your actual your stool consistency, which is always a hard conversation to have with people, I find, is very, very indicative of whether or not you're having enough or not. Like if you're going to the toilet regularly and you're going to the toilet and nothing's an issue and everything's fine and stool quality is good, you're fine, you're good. And as long as your weights are progressing, as long as we're seeing a visual progression, we're good there. Yeah, we don't have to worry about moving it up or down. If that's fine, it's fine until it's not. And if you need to either increase or lower calories, it should be from the other food groups, primarily being carbohydrates, because fats keep us satiated in a dieting phase. And also, if we have too many fats in a gaining phase, you end up feeling over-satiated, and then you end up feeling full on not enough calories. So, generally speaking, you want to keep fats pretty stable. Protein will move up and down, whatever you need. Start with that industry standard, whatever you need to recover, and keeping digestive capacity in a good place. And then move carbohydrates either up or down, depending on what your goal is in that time. But for you guys, if you're new to this and you want to start off tracking to see how things have got on or how things are as the industry standard, like I said, 0.75 to 1 gram per pound of body weight for women and 1 gram to 1.5 grams per pound of body weight for men as a starting point, and then adjust accordingly based off biofeedback.
Yeah, to back up your point there, I've literally got my plan in front of me here, and I mean, I think we've dropped calories down to a maintenance phase now. Obviously, we've got to bear in mind that I'm competing, aiming to compete in classic bodybuilding, so it's very maybe different to a normal standard diet. But just to give some context, we're in a maintenance phase at the moment. We're about just under 3,800 calories with like 260 grams of protein, like 500 carbs, and like 65 grams of fats. Okay, so given what, say, like the standard is, sometimes it can differentiate depending on you as an individual. Okay, we've also got to think about like metabolic rate, sort of thermogenesis as well, how quickly you burn through calories, and take that into account. Because some people just do need more, and then they eat more, and then they still don't put on any new muscle tissue, so then they need more. And that's how it works. Again, it's tailored to the individual at the end of the day. But yeah, digestion, key marker that we look for.
Sometimes as well, protein's an interesting one, because if you're trying to increase someone's calories, right, and they have the scope to be able to increase their protein, sometimes if you want someone to stay lean, increasing their protein is the best choice, because it's incredibly good at satiating people. So you get full very quick. Eating like a chicken breast for 50 calories is a lot harder to do than eating 150 calories of fast-acting carbohydrates, like easy sugars, simple carbs. But also, protein is the most or the hardest macronutrient for your body to break down. So it actually utilizes way more energy to break down protein than it does carbohydrates. So it's kind of like, if you want to stay lean and if you want to slowly increase carbohydrates up, not only has protein got more amino acids, so it's actually going to positively impact your recovery and new muscle growth, but also you're going to burn through it a lot, and thermogenesis is a real thing and it will definitely help. So sometimes it's not all calories in and calories out, but up to a point where your digestion is compromised, right? Like that's the key that's the key factor there. Because sure, increase protein, but if you now increase protein and now you're, either again going to the toilet and you're pooing through the either needle, or it's just going out everywhere and you can't stop going to the toilet, at that point your digestion is compromised. Now everything is compromised off the back of that. So it's understanding, again, this is why it's useful to have someone on your side that knows what they're doing, because they'll be able to move things up and down gradually over time and be able to make those minor adjustments. Because again, like for me over the years, I've had multiple coaches and they've done that, and it's much easier for them to just stay in check with the stats. Yeah, like if you've got someone that's, for me with all my clients, it's like I've got a Google sheet for everything, dude. Like, I've got notes everywhere, statistics through the wazoo. So, for me, it's like, okay, I understand how you feel, but I know based off of the biofeedback that we've got right now, based off of weeks and weeks and weeks of trial and error, if we were to make this adjustment, this will be a positive adjustment. Equally, we may not need to make an adjustment because everything is fine. So it's understanding that.
And I wanted to. Oh, sorry, no, you carry on.
No, you go for it.
There were two things that I wanted to also bring up. Like when I first started my, let's say, fitness journey when I was 15, starting off in the Leisure Centre, because that's the only place that you could legally train if you weren't an adult. food quality and also eating times are hugely important, especially for the likes of protein and building new muscle tissue. Bro, the amount of times when I used to, when I wasn't training here and I was training over at Pure Gym, the amount of times I would just finish my session and be like, right, cool, McDonald's was straight over the road. We're just going to eat as much as possible straight away. Probably the worst digestion I'd ever had. Like
The OG
ever.
dirty bulk, brother. There's the
I
OG
know.
dirty bulk.
And it's awful. It's awful. It's great because you can have whatever the fuck you want, but it's also awful because there is no choice and you can have whatever the fuck you want. So yeah, digestion just takes a massive hit. Also makes you feel extremely lethargic after you eat, like you do not want to move and you do not want to, carry on. I understand that majority of people will probably experience that when they're in improvement phase and they are eating an excessive amount of calories, but nowhere near as bad when you have good quality protein choices and carb sources, and also like your fats as well. You're not having like loads and loads of saturated fats. Like even when we like increase our fat count, we have the likes of like whole foods like almond butter and like coconut oil, like good quality fats. It's not just like, right, get a block of lard and stick it on your ice bowl. It's it's good choices that inevitably are going to also keep you lean at the same time, but provide you with that energy, support your immune system, allow protein to break down efficiently, and therefore you can grow and recover. And that's kind of what I wanted to go into, like the eating times as well. I mean, we've spoken about it in nutrition seminars when we've hosted them before, like maybe 2 to 3 hours between each meal, even 3 to 4 hours between each meal, depending on how many meals you've got. That is like crucial for absorbing nutrients. This whole idea of like this anabolic window, and I was a massive believer in that as well, where it's like you train and then you've got half an hour to get as much protein in as possible. And if you don't get any protein in that half an hour, then you won't make any gains. It's a load of bollocks. It is a huge myth that was debunked fucking ages ago. But that's something that I felt for when I started my fitness journey.
He's been so slow. But yeah, no, I completely agree, man. I think the dirty
Lewis has left the podcast.
Oh, my back?
Oh no, your camera went off. That was so
Dude,
weird.
what is going on? It's so weird. Yeah, no, the OG dirty bulk is the classic old school. I'm gonna eat as much as possible and put on as much muscle mass as possible, right? And dude, there's so many negatives with that. Like the when you understand like the science behind it as well. So like it's actually it just gets like I look back at like my journey and I'm there like why did I do that? Because I did the OG dirty bulk as well, but the whole idea of like now knowing about like the gut wall and zonulin and how zonulin basically alleviates the tight junctions and relaxes them in your stomach, and that then passes bad bacteria through the bloodstream, which then enhances inflammation. And actually, the body works, and how bad that was for my progress at the time. I wish I could just go back as an older version of me and be like, bro, you know that dirty bulk that you did? Yeah. Don't, don't do it. Don't do it. It's only going to negatively impact your progress here. But yeah, no, it's a fascinating thing, bro, and it's definitely a path that most of us have walked down is the whole McDonald's thing, you know. Um, yeah, and you obviously get the odd guy here or there that can pull it off, right? And that's the problem. Everybody focuses on the minority and not on the majority. There's always that one kid that like went to school and could look at a dumbbell and put on about like 10 kilos of muscle tissue. And he's like, yeah, man, I just go to McDonald's and I eat crisps and sweets and I'm cool good. And you're like, oh man, well, if I go to McDonald's and I eat twice as much as he does and train twice as hard, I'm gonna end up bigger. You will end up bigger, but not in the way that you want. Not in the way that you want. That guy's a genetic freak, my guy. So it's understanding how the body works. That doesn't mean that person as well that's jacked couldn't be getting more jacked by doing things right. That's the other thing to remember too. Because I feel like a lot of people, I've met loads of lads in my time that are like, well, I'm massive. Why would I need to change anything? You're like, fair. It's not a wrong statement to make, but that's also quite an arrogant statement to make because even the best people are always looking for ways to improve. And that's part of it, right? Is like, okay, cool. If I can get this result from this, and technically, by science standards, this isn't right. What if I just tried doing things right? Maybe they get rather than 3 times the progress, they get 4 times the progress. So at least try it. But anyway, right, moving on to the next question. We're probably chasing a body goal instead of a performance standard. Now, this is a good one. This is something that I really struggle getting across to people as a coach, because it literally, when someone accepts it and puts it that it becomes so easy. And someone had a conversation with me last week about bodybuilding being unhealthy. He didn't say it in a negative way. He was just like, I just don't think it's maybe like super, super healthy and stuff, because it focuses on visuals and things. And I thought about it afterwards, actually, and I was like, but I don't think this is the most confident I've ever been in an off season. And for me, it's because I chase getting a bit better in the gym each time. Like, where I'm a bodybuilder as a byproduct of me just trying to improve myself over time. So, like, whether that be an additional rep or maybe 2.5 kilos extra on the bar, getting stronger and progressing in movements, even just progressing in the movement, maybe finding something that wasn't inherently uncomfortable, more comfortable. That's cool for me, bro. I look for the little wins. I don't look for the major outcome. But if I have set myself up to get a major outcome, and as a byproduct of that, I've made a program that allows me to enjoy getting stronger, and now I'm just eating to facilitate that, that's going to happen anyway at some point, right? So it's kind of like, I wish for a lot of people they would stop looking at the scale weight and the measurements each week as the baseline of going, that's what I'm going to base my confidence off of, because you will have weeks where things will not go the way that you want, just because inflammation might be there, or maybe your body is plateaued. If you can chase the small wins of in the gym every day, all of a sudden 6 months would have passed. You would have enjoyed the whole fucking process, and you'll look 18 times better than you did at the start, as long as your diet actually allows you to facilitate the goal that you're after. So, yeah, I would say chase just improving in the gym each time. And as soon as you do that, all of a sudden it becomes very healthy, because you're eating healthy. You're in the gym all the time. You're actively choosing not to go out drinking with your mates on the weekend, because you're like, actually, that's going to impact my performance on Monday. And I'm seeing some lads at the gym on Monday, and I want to get a PB. All of a sudden, you're starting to make the right choices to be able to facilitate that goal.
I think another thing to catch up on as well, and I'm going to be brutally honest, but for the past few weeks, I've been ill, which is great. And my worry is that I am not big enough to compete in the category that I want to compete in. But then I stop myself and I think, well, I'm not really chasing for size at the moment because it's still fairly new to the game. Like, I've had one competition under my belt. How can I then go and turn around and be like, right, I need to be the biggest and best ever? It's not realistic. Like, we've had many conversations before in the past where it's like it's linear each year. 1 year you're going to be 160 when you're on stage. The next year you're going to be 165, and then you might go up to 180. And it's progress over a longer period of time. So now, if I ever get the thought in my head that like, oh, I'm just not big enough, I'll do a bit of posing, and I'll be like, yeah, but in terms of performance-wise, I always go towards like the standard of the category that I'm in. Do I look the standard that they want? In terms of muscle density, probably not so much, but in terms of shape, like, yeah, cool, we do meet some areas of that criteria. So those are things that I will focus on. And size comes with time. I ran into the same issue when I did my first competition. I was like, oh, I'm just not big enough. But it's not about being big enough or not. It's not about having the perfect physique straight away. It's about trying. It's literally trial and error, isn't it? And even if you win, great, but you're still probably going to make loads of improvements and even more positives when you go again. So in terms of like performance standards, like, yes, lifting more in the gym and like improving in the gym, of course. But if you are doing like we're doing like bodybuilding focus, if you can meet to a standard, then cool. That is also way better than having to chase that dream look, that size. So that's something that I've definitely learned, is that focus more on the criteria as opposed to how you look now, because how you look now is going to probably look completely different in 5 years' time. If you keep going and going again.
Again, as soon as you step on stage, and this is the thing with especially with what you're doing, your goal is to get off stage and go and progress in the gym. Because if you need to get bigger, the only way you can get bigger is by facilitating a performance increase. So the goal is, in my last off season, I got to this weight on this movement, and that gave me X outcome. Now, I want to add 30 kilos onto that lift, and I'm going to go again. I'm going to see what the outcome is going to be. And the outcome will always be positive. So inherently, bodybuilding is performance based. That's why Ronnie Coleman was huge, because he'd haul around huge weights. And I don't care what bodybuilder says, oh, it's not all about weights. It's about getting stronger in whatever you're doing. Yeah, it doesn't matter whether your rep range is 15 and like you're doing loads and loads of reps. Okay, cool. Are you getting stronger at 15 reps? Are you getting stronger at 3 reps? Are you getting stronger at 6 reps? Whatever rep range you choose, and there's always an optimal rep range for the individual. But you should be just getting stronger. If you want to be a better bodybuilder, if you want to be better, you should be. And if you're not getting stronger, are you improving in that movement? Are you moving better? Are you contracting the muscle more? Like you're the whole thing, the whole industry, and whatever you're in, even if you're doing functional competitions, it should be about small, gradual improvements and putting in the time. Right? And I've said this to you multiple times. For you, it's like, like you don't have a right to say I need to be the best right now. Because there have been bodybuilders that have been grinding it away for 6 years. They started at 15 and then they had a dad that was a coach and they were like, right, I'm going to get you on a plan. And they've been following that thing and dieting for 6 years. You can't stand next to me like I should be better than you, because actually they put in the time. But it doesn't mean in 4 years' time, you'll be stood 6 years deep into your competing life. And there'll be someone that's 2 years into theirs and they'll be like, oh, I should have beaten you. And you'll be like, you don't have the right to say that. And then the tables will turn, or the turns have tabled. So it's like you've got to put in the work, the graft, the gradual improvements each session, because then it also keeps you hyper focused, because it's about just improving every time you go to the gym. And that's cool, man. That's cool. It's like every time you go to the gym, you're a little bit better than the person you were the day before, which is great. That's so healthy. It's progression. And even from a long-term statistic, right, as we get older, we lose muscle because people inherently become more inactive. Yeah, they just do, because as you get older, you've got a desk job and now you're not going to the park with your mates on your bike anymore and climbing trees and shit. You're not doing that as much. So there isn't as much stimulus for retention, but that's how arthritis and all of the age-old diseases and ailments come in. Whereas for us, it's like we're actually going the direct opposite. Like we're building more muscle tissue, which means it's facilitating more support around the skeleton. It means the skeleton takes less pressure, and therefore we can move for longer, and we can consistently keep our mobility. There are a lot of bodybuilders now that are like 55, 60. We're not going to use Ronnie Coleman as an example because he had a degenerative spine disease. That's very unique. I think it was off the back of him playing American football in his 20s and having a terrible surgery, which he's going to the courts for. But like, look at Jay Cutler. Jay Cutler is 56 years old and is in the gym every day, and he looks absolutely phenomenal. He looks about 40. Because Jay was always one of those guys that just like going to the gym, dude. He just enjoyed it. He just enjoyed going to the gym. It's part of him. Just loved it. He loves getting a bit better every day. And that's what he does. That's all he's done. And he's looked better and healthy, and he's got a very active life. So yeah, I think like I said, it's important to focus on your performance, and then the secondary visual goal will come as a byproduct of that, as long as you point the diet in the right direction.
Yeah. I mean, I couldn't agree more. Really, I couldn't agree more.
Should we move on to why cardio is making you fat?
Go on then. Yes.
So, statement with this one, and this is very important to understand. Cardio inherently will not make you fat, okay? But the side effects of doing too much cardio will make you fat, because the reason why a lot of bodybuilders do low intensity steady state is cardio is because low intensity steady state is not intense enough to stimulate any kind of response from your leptin and your ghrelin, which are the two hunger and satiety hormones in your brain. So it's low enough intensity wise for you to burn calories without sending your leptin and ghrelin into this like state where it's just all over the place. High intensity cardio, we've all been there. We've done like a HIIT session, or we've done like a cardio or a functional workout. You finish it and you feel like you don't want to eat afterwards, right? For the first hour or two, probably because it's so intense, your adrenaline's up and you're not hungry. People aren't hungry when their adrenaline's high. 2 hours later though, oh, fuck me, dude. You want to eat everything but the fucking kitchen fridge. You're licking windows because your leptin and your ghrelin are like this, and they just don't know what to do. And they're like, we've got all this breakdown, our adrenaline was really high, now we're really exhausted, let's just get some food in because we need some energy. And maybe you don't need that energy. So you're just going to go to the fridge, and it's really hard because your leptin, your ghrelin levels are all over the place. You're really hungry, but you also don't know when you're satiated. So it's a lot harder from my experience when I've added in HIIT sessions into people's plans in the past, which I don't do often anymore unless the person really needs it. We're doing like a last minute push to try and pull off water retention or something for a bodybuilding show, or they're a performance athlete, that's very different. But as soon as you start adding that stuff in, dude, adherence plummets. Like my clients' adherence went whoa, straight down because they can't fight the hunger. Yeah, they're like shaking in bed. They can't do it. List never does that though. It just allows the process of dieting to become a lot easier. So it's understanding that, like, I'm not saying don't do functional workouts, nor don't do intense cardio that raises your heart rate above 140. Just be mindful of what you're trying to achieve. If you are trying to lose body fat, it might not be the most effective form of cardio for you to be doing because it's going to make you adhering to your diet very hard unless you have an iron will. And so if people are honest with themselves, don't think many people have an iron will when it comes to food. Yeah, I'm for me as a person very linear. I would shake in bed and I would just like stare at the cupboard and I would never break on my diet. If you ask Maddie, like I'd go hyperglycemic before I cheat. Which is not which is not a healthy way to approach it, but it makes me a good bodybuilder. But when it comes to most people, it's a no go. So, and that's fine. If you understand that, then just choose your cardio accordingly.
Yeah, it's infuriating as well when you have conversations with maybe family members or people that are outside of a gym environment, and they say like, right, my goal this year is to lose weight, and I'm going to go on a run every single morning. And it's like, this is where like we sort of have this like ping pong effect, right, where you lose weight and then obviously like you mentioned, that hunger then kicks in, and then you suddenly gain that weight back on, and the whole time it's like watching a game of tennis. It's like this all the time, and it's just and then you get annoyed because you're not making any progress, or you make progress and then you regress, and then you just like sack it off completely. I mean, the best form of weight loss, exercise is, as you mentioned there, low intensity, steady state, mixed in with some weight training. Like, I'd say in a half an hour session, you probably burn just as many calories weight training as you would doing, a light jog for 30 minutes. So the best thing that you can do if you want to just drop a bit of body fat is just train 3 to 4 times a week, maybe with, I'd say 15, 20 minutes of low intensity steady state, and obviously get your steps in as well. But anything too intense, and again, you will just notice this tennis effect where you're just going back and forth and back and forth. And it is a tough conversation to have with people, because some people, they do generally love going out for runs and doing, functional workouts for, mental clarity. They want that sense of accomplishment, but it's understanding sort of the fundamentals as to why you don't necessarily need to do it all the time. As you mentioned, the one a week, sure, it's fine. It's not the end of the world. But if you're doing it sort of consecutively and then wondering why you're not making as much progress, then again, that's why.
Yeah, and I mean we've pretty much covered all of that there, but I think it's just being tactical, and with runners as well. Like with running, it's interesting because you have this argument with people all the time, and it's like, so I feel fine. They'll always say, I feel fine. I don't feel hungry. I don't feel hungry after a run. Like, yeah, but it's not like that. It doesn't work like that. Okay, cool. I used the analogy earlier of 2 hours after, but sometimes it takes days. So you might not feel the side effects of that run straight away initially. Maybe you don't feel hungry. Okay, cool. That's fine. But fatigue builds, and same with your leptin and your ghrelin, and that builds over time. And you have pushed it to a point where that will affect your leptin and your ghrelin. You have chipped away at it a little bit. You will get some response back. It's like you taking a jab at someone, right? And then they haven't punched you straight away, but they've said to you, "I will punch you, but I'll punch you when you least expect it." And that's what your leptin and your ghrelin will do. And that's why with runners, they're like, throughout the week I'm fine, but on the weekend I really come off. Yeah, that's a byproduct of that run you did Tuesday and Thursday, but now you're only feeling it on Sunday. So, it's just understanding that, and understanding that you choose the cardio based off of what the goal is. And if your goal is fat loss, if your goal is visual, then it should be the right cardio for that goal specifically, which is less. If you are doing it for a performance metric or a performance goal for a competition, or if you enjoy running, or if you enjoy the social aspect of a functional workout, that is fine. That is a-okay, as long as you're aware that it's probably not the most optimal thing to be doing. That's it. So that moves us on to the next one, which is what makes a bad coach and what makes a good coach and what to look out for. This one I'm incredibly passionate about, just because off the back of a conversation that I've had this week. And a good coach is, you can get a good gauge for a good coach. Generally, it's based off of their passion for your journey. So like I always say, like for us guys, we do onboarding videos for all of our coaching clients, which is like going through their plan, going through exactly why they're doing what they're doing, explaining their body, explaining why the nutrition is set up the way that it is, why the workout is set up the way that it is, and explaining all of that. If you have a coach that when you ask them, why am I doing this, they don't have a good enough response, or you think they're just waffling, massive red flag. And alongside that is checking quality. Like, you know, this lady wasn't even getting a check-in. She had to chase her coach for a check-in, which I think is incredibly bad. For me, I've even spoke to you, Jake, about this. I've been working with you for years, and I think there's maybe one time where I gave you a check-in over late, and that was because I was poorly. One time in years. Every other week, I will stay up till 3 a.m., 4 a.m. to get everything done if I need to. And that's because I genuinely fucking care about everyone I work with. I am super, super passionate, arguably more passionate about their goals than they are, because they've told me what they want. And I'm like, I understand what you want. You've told me you want it. I'm going to get you there 100%. There is no ifs or buts. We are going there. And I get annoyed sometimes when people jump off plan with me if they haven't got to their goal, which is very few now, actually, which is good. Like retention rate's really high. But I get pissed off because I'm there like, fuck, we could have done it, you know? And it's like me saying I want to do a bodybuilding competition and not getting there. I'm more invested in them for that than I would be with my own bodybuilding competitions, dude. Like I am so on it, and when it doesn't happen, I'm like, which is very few and far between. Like I said, it's probably best part of like 2-3 years now that I've actually had someone come on board and not succeed. But yeah, I think those are the two biggest things that I would say that you need to look out for. And just make sure that they are actually, you can get a good fucking vibe for people, guys. You just can. Like, you speak to a coach, and genuinely, if they're talking to you on the phone and they're not being salesy, and they're like, well, why do you want to achieve this? Okay, cool. And what's stopping you from achieving that? And they're asking the right fucking questions. It doesn't sound like a fucking sales call. Then genuinely, they're talking to you as a mate because they've seen whether or not they can help you. If it sounds like you're a sales call and they're being overtly nice, you know what that sounds like, then it's probably fucking, it's they just want you on board for stats. That's it. Just yeah. Go by your feeling in your gut sometimes.
Yeah, no, yeah, I 100% agree. It's also like, and I know I'm, again, still fairly new to the game, sort of like 7 months in, I think now. But even sort of how you are with your clients, like in person as well. Like, I mean, we see our clients every day, man. They're downstairs in the gym grinding it out, and it's also, you know, it's just a case of like going into the gym and having that conversation with them, and then almost like some people do need that bit of reassurance in person. They'll watch their check-in video and not necessarily take it all in, and then you may go down into the gym and sort of like catch them maybe doing like the wrong technique, and they just literally need someone in their, you're not in their face, you know, we're not having a scrap, but you know, face to face, being like, right, no, you know, do it this way, this is why we're doing this, etc. And then they pick it up that way. You know, again, like you mentioned, like you are super, super passionate and driven about my goals more than I am sometimes. And it's kind of like, fucking hell, who's competing in Classic this year? Is it me or Lewis? But it's, you know,
I'll do it for you. If we can find a way to swap bodies, I'll do it for you, bro.
I really appreciate that, man. I could do with the exercise, to be fair.
You just trade places with me, bro. Just trade places with me, bro. We'll swap like brains, and then I'll just be in your body and I'll do the groundwork. You just do the stage bit. You're better at posing than I am.
Okay, that works well for me. Thank you very much. But yeah, just even just like being present, seeing them in the gym, and like, you know, the amount of times I'll do check-ins with people, and I'll be like, right, you have absolutely no choice. We are doing a one-to-one session this week. I need to make sure that you're doing, you know, you're pushing hard enough, you're doing the correct technique, and you know, some people are like, oh, okay, we're doing another one this week. But again, it's just that reassurance that, you know, your clients are on, you know, on the money. Like, I get pissed off when people sort of sign up for coaching and then I hear nothing from them, and it's like, I feel bad. I feel like I'm scamming you. I need to give you some form of feedback. I need to make sure that you're okay. I need to make sure that this goal that we've set out to achieve is slowly being achieved. You know, otherwise I would, you know, quite happily just not message and be like, oh yeah, no, it's fine. They're doing their own thing. It's like, yeah, you need to care for them just as much as you know, care about your own goals and sort of your own journey. You know, because ultimately you became a coach because you want to see other people do well, and you almost sort of thrive off that energy of someone turning around to you and being like, "Holy fucking shit, we did it!" And you're like, "Yeah, we fucking did,"
Mm.
you know.
Yeah, man. Yeah, yeah. I think as well, it sounds really like going off the back of what you just said there. Absolutely, the passion comes through when you're seeing them in the gym. Like for you, you're very much on your clients as well, which is awesome. But I think also sometimes just cutting it down to the bare basic bones, like results, social proof. Like, are they actually good at doing what they're doing? Like, you know, for even if they're new to the industry, like for you, you have Craig who has already lost like 50 pounds, right? There are some coaches out there that never get that and have been in the industry for like 4 or 5 years, right? So you're like, okay, if you could do that in less than 2 months of being in here and pushing for it, why are these people of like 4 to 5 years of being in the industry not succeeded at doing that? Why is their biggest loss from a client £16 when they were 300 pounds to begin with, when they definitely had the weight to lose? And for me personally, with my own decision making process, I even spoke to Cal about it today, and I spoke to you about it. Like, dude, there's so many people online now that waffle on about like the best way to do this, the best way to do that. Okay, cool. Everybody is so desensitized to that information now because there's so many people that have said that stuff that never back what they're actually saying with actual results. And the good coaches are the ones that will definitely give out information 100%, like we do. We give out information all the time, but also we back it with actual results. Like for me, I post social proof all the time. Here's person A, here's person B, here's person C, here's person D. Like you can see it. So it's like, cool, I'm not just saying it, I've done it. So a good coach will have results, even if they're new to the industry. They will have people they're working with, whether or not they're super extreme yet. Like, you know, for me, I've been in the industry for years now, over a decade. So I have had the time to be able to hone my skills and develop good relationship with people and work with people long enough to be able to get that. But for you, you're on track with Craig to get that. Like Craig is going to be a what the hell client because everything every week is linear, and you're very passionate about getting his check-ins over. You can see that already, and yeah, it's social. It's a social proof game. It is a social proof game, man. Like that's it. And as long as you don't get gaslit by people saying like I'm the best coach, and they've got their G wagon in the background, and they've got their like personal gym for themselves, and they're wearing like all of this designer clothing. They're like, do you want to be like me? Do you want to like look as shredded as I do? And they're actually running like 5,000 milligrams of Winstrol or something, right? And they're like, yeah, man, like you could live this alpha male life and only for the small price of 2 grand. People get caught up in that shit all the time, bro, and they pay it because they want to be that person in their fantasy. And they're like, this guy's telling me I can do it, then I'll pay it. Go on their page and look at the people they work with. Are there lots of people they've worked with that have got the result they are promising? If they haven't, they're probably not a good coach, man. They're probably not very good at what they do. Doesn't mean just because they're ripped that they get other people ripped. And you see it all the time in the bodybuilding industry, athletes going off and trying to be coaches because they've competed in one show and then failing miserably because they realize working with people is massively different to you doing it, because everybody is individual and you need to work with people on a like finite level. And it requires a lot of time. Like I basically have zero social life because I'm a coach first and foremost, in every aspect of my life. And I'm okay with it because I enjoy it. I love it. But there are very few people that are like us out there that have that built into them. But they understand it's an industry that they could earn a lot of money in, so they're going to pretend they are. And with Claude and ChatGPT and stuff, they can simply type in what would make me look like a reliable coach, and then they'll get given like 8 different posts that they could post on Instagram that will build that reliable coach vibe in you for a minute and a half, and you will base your whole view off them off of that a minute and a half reel, and you're like, dude, crazy shit. So go by social proof. Just go by social proof. Who have they worked with? How well have they worked with them? Have they got lots of testimonials? Are they actively living the life that they say they are? And if they are, cool. If they're not, move on, find someone else.
Yeah, I'll give you a prime example. I used to get my hair cut by one of my best mates, literally down the road from us. And I was talking to him, having a chat with him, and I was like, "Oh, how come none of your guys train over in Tribe, and you can pop in for the one-off if you want?" And he was like, "Oh well, the guy that owns this place, he's just paid like $2,500 for someone that's out in Dubai for a training program." And I'm like, why? And I'm like, why? I'd love to see this guy's like profile and like results and stuff. And like you're telling me that he's just almost thrown $2,500 at someone, and it's like fucking hell.
Brother, my coach is £400 a month, and he's the best coach in the UK right now. The best coach, arguably one of the best coaches in the world. He will not accept people to work with him. He told me today, he was like, I have 100 people. I have my 100 people. If I take someone on board, I have to be really motivated to work with them. I will turn them down. He's paying $2,500 for someone who isn't at. That's crazy. Because if it was like, I don't know, if it was Haney Rambod or whatever, which are $2,500, like any of those guys that work with like the Olympians, fair enough, but it's not. Wild.
I think this was for like a 6 or 8 month block as well. So it's like $2,500 just gone, and
Okay, here's the best analogy, right? Any coach that is worth $2,500 and you're an average dude, they will not want to work with you. They won't, because they literally work with celebrities. Like Haney Rambod worked with The Rock. So like they work with celebrities and they work with Olympians or high level celebrities in some aspect, like athletes, for example. They will not want to work with a barber. They won't. So that's the people that are worth $2,500. So fucking hell, Jesus Christ.
And I was like, bro, you can give me like $1,000 and I'll get you sorted for the year. Again, when I was like first starting out, I was like, dude, we'd be fine. And I'm literally 5 minutes away from you. So if you fuck up at all or you don't, hit a check-in, I'm going to be round here. And I'm just like, you're paying someone $2,500 that, you haven't even really got access to. Like, yes, you can call over the phone, but wouldn't it be better to actually be able to see them? Like, even if it's once a month. Like, I know you've got guys that train outside of the gym, and I've got a couple of guys that train local to the area but outside of the gym. But it's like, I will get you in here so I can actually see you face to face, because you could be hiding anything behind a screen, behind a camera, what you're doing over in this country. But as long as I know that you're training the right way, then how do I know that we're making progress? So
yeah, but Ollie lives out in Dubai, and he's a good client of mine.
But then again, we know that Ollie is like fucking driven and motivated, and he has made substantial amount of change. I could take someone's money from that's halfway up the country and never see them, and again, going back to like the bad coaches, they'll just accept the fact that they're not really putting in the effort. I know that you have sort of like your calls with Ollie every now and then. I think once a month as well, and like you're making sure that like, look, we have made loads of progress, but we're just gonna have this little interaction here just to make sure that we are still on the money. And like, bro, Ollie's a fucking driven guy, man. Like, he is literally living out in Dubai. Like, the guy is driven to fuck. Like, I think he would be like disappointed if he let you down. And like, he's at that standard that you want to work with. But to just take $2,500 and be like, here's a plan, it's like,
yeah, mate. Yeah, it's the luxury living. It's the luxury lifestyle. It's why you buy a Gucci handbag over a normal handbag, even though they're made the same. It's the brand thing, isn't it? Yeah. So, yeah. Like, going back to the main thing, guys, what makes a bad coach is if they are financially driven to the wrong degree. I think a good coach has that ultimately there comes a line of accountability with their price as well. So for me, like I charge 250, 300 a month, it's going up to 300 now. But I charge that from a level of like, number one, I'm going to invest so much of my time in you as a person. So that is 300 is actually very little for the amount of time I'm about to spend with you and all the knowledge I've spent hundreds of thousands of pounds worth over the last 10 years. But also it's enough for you to go, right, this is an investment, so I need to make sure I get the most out of it by following the plan. I've also had my prices really low when I started, and client adherence is terrible. So like it's only 50 quid or whatever. Meh. I was so brand new, I couldn't ask for more than that. And yeah, again, it needs to have some kind of financial incentive there for people to stick with it, if that makes sense. For me, again, I've had business coaches that charge £1,500. I was like, I am not wasting this money, dude. I am making sure I'm on every single call because otherwise I can't afford to just waste £1,500 and not get any value from it. So yeah, it's just remember what the average price is for a coach. I would say anywhere from 200 to 500 a month. When you're at that higher price point of like 300 to 500 or 400 to 500, you're working with elite coaches at that point. They should have a lot of results to be able to advocate that price. And generally, if anybody asks for more than that, they're financially incentivized in the wrong way. And I think at that point, sure, they might be a good coach, but there's quite a large inkling that they're probably in it for the finances. And that's not good because we're a coach first and foremost, right? We spoke about this earlier. Like we're coaches first and foremost, bro. Like I fucking love my job, dude. I would never want to not do my job. I love it passionately. So that's who we are, coaches first and foremost. I have bills to pay, but I am a coach and I want to work with people and I want them to be as invested in it as I am.
Amen.
Yeah. Right. We're out there, guys. Is there any questions while we're here before we go? Anything you'd like us to answer? Because we have to go and do some posing now. Pump and iron.
I was about to shout across the room, sing the song.
Love that shit. By the looks of things, I think we're all good. Alrighty, guys. Well, listen, if you've got any questions off of the podcast, if you feel like you wanna drop us a DM or anything like that, if you've got any, maybe you're speaking to a coach right now, maybe you're like, maybe is he good, is he not, and you want to get a secondary view, ask us. We're always happy to like give them a quick overview, and I won't just try and get you to sign up with coaching with me. Genuinely, if they're a good coach, I'll say they're a good coach. Go for it. So would Jake. But yeah, with any other questions, just fire it over via WhatsApp and we'll answer you. Okay.
Yep, exactly that. We hope everyone has a lovely rest of the weekend. Get your training in, get your food in, etc. Enjoy the weekend, chill out. The weather's getting nicer, so make the most of it. Get your tan on, sun's out, guns out, and all that. And we will see you for our next episode of the podcast on Monday morning. Okay, like Lewis said, any questions, will reach out to us, and we'll be happy to chat. Much love, guys. Have a nice evening.
See you later, guys. I'm posing so hard, man. I felt like I had an incredible blood pressure high there.